So, on today's episode, what we're going to be talking about is mental resilience around social media. So, social media actually robs your brain of positive dopamine. We're going to talk how the brain works, what social media does, and how you're so addicted to it. And we're going to tell you guys what you can do to overcome it. And it seems scary at first because a lot of you grew up in the digital era. And so the social media is something you grew up with. But we're going to show you that when you can eliminate the social media from your life, or at least create spaces that are social media free, it's going to actually build mental resilience because your brain's going to get dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins through discipline instead of distraction. Welcome to the Mental Health Janitors, where we help you clean up the mess in your head. I'm your host, Sgt Q, and with me today is Holly.
Hey, everybody. Glad to be here.
So Holly, also known as Mrs. Q, she's my wife, and we've been married almost 15 years now. Be 15 years in a couple days.
It will be, yeah.
Pretty amazing.
Long time.
And we definitely had some ups and downs in our mental health journeys.
That could be a whole series in and of itself.
Absolutely. And so today, we're going to share with you guys some things you can do to build mental resiliency around social media. Now, this is a problem that I've seen all throughout the US in the last decade as social media has become more popular. Is this something you've experienced?
Oh, yeah. All the time. It's like watching how perfect their little life is, and it makes me feel like what I'm doing is not enough. It's very impactful. Yeah.
And that feeling is real. It's not weakness. You know, there is hard science behind why we endlessly scroll on social media. And it all has to do with this like button. So our brain will get automatic dopamine hits when we're scrolling and we see something new. We see somebody who liked our content. Maybe they put a comment or somebody commented on our comment. It artificially gives us a dopamine hit. Now, dopamine was specifically designed for your brain to be able to create motivation. So a lot of people think, oh, I've got to be motivated to do this thing. But in reality, you just got to do the thing. And then you get the hit of dopamine, which becomes motivation to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. Well, social media engineers have figured this out. They figured out how to hack the brain to keep us scrolling longer by giving us dopamine hits so we continue to scroll. And now Etsy is probably one of the pioneers of this space.
Don't pick on Etsy. Etsy's amazing. I love it.
Right? Okay. Because the way that they set up their scroll feature, if you look, and you guys are going to totally look at social media different now that I'm sharing this with you, because when you look at Etsy, when you scroll up, you're going to scroll something into view. But the bottom, about 20% of the screen is going to show you the next item, but not enough for your brain to know what it is, just enough for your brain to want to know.
Right.
And so when you scroll up to see the next one, your brain gets a dopamine hit, a reward. You found out what that item was, which then scrolls the next one up. So Etsy was the first to pioneer this in the technology space, but it's since been taken over by everybody. eBay, Google, Temu, they all do the same thing. They are banking on that artificial dopamine hit to keep you scrolling longer because it tricks your brain into thinking you're accomplishing goals.
Right.
But you're just wasting endless time.
I've noticed that with gamification in apps, right? You get the puzzle pieces and they put them together. They've done that in slot machines too, at the casinos, where you get pieces to uncover a puzzle or a picture, and that's what keeps you motivated to keep going, is you have to uncover that picture. Even though most of us already know what it's going to be, one or two pieces in, you don't stop until you get every piece on the board.
Yeah, it's the way that they design this is to keep you engaged. And people look at this as it's just a casual distraction. But too much of that, it becomes poison for your brain because you have now trained yourself to find your happiness and fulfillment through that screen. And you end up not doing anything during the day. By the end of the day, you've accomplished nothing but scrolling. And so when you reflect back You start to feel depressed and anxious because you haven't accomplished anything that you were trying to do throughout the
Sure. This feels a little bit like a personal attack.
day. It should. It should,
Yep.
because all of us deal with it.
Well, no, like, I'm at home, and I'm like, "I'm gonna clean the house today and get that laundry folded and put away." But then I get sucked into Facebook, and it's like, you look at your phone for a minute, and then 3 hours have gone by.
Well, actually, 2 hours and 27 minutes.
What do
So
you mean?
that's the average time that people spend on social media a day, is 2 hours and 27 minutes. That is about 7 years of your life. 7 years of your life you're gonna spend just mindlessly scrolling on the internet.
Oh, that's insane.
It's a lot, right?
That's a lot.
So knowing is half the battle. And the old GI Joe phrase, right? Knowing is half the battle. Now that you know and understand, what are some things that you can do to overcome it? Now, here's the thing. This isn't something new.
Mhm.
This is something, you mentioned it, that slot machines have been doing for many, many years. And when you're playing that slot machine, you're right. There's 7 bars that are going to spin.
Yeah.
And as those wheels spin, every time one stops, the next one gets faster and louder.
It's exciting to
Right,
me. See,
right.
you're already building that
Build,
anticipation.
build anticipation, build anticipation, build anticipation, and the last one's spinning like crazy, and then you don't win. And then oh, so you hold the handle again, you push the button again, and it starts all over. Dopamine, 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 nothing. So you go back to the beginning. Dopamine, dopamine, dopamine. And it does this. This is why people will play for hours
Yeah.
inside of a casino. They'll lose complete track of time because they're so sucked in to that, addicted to that dopamine, that rush, that they may win something. Now, here's the crazy part. They study this. People who are compulsive gamblers, who gamble all the time, they looked at this and they studied them. When they're playing the game, they had them hooked up to electrodes. And you would think that when they won a big prize, they'd get this huge flood of dopamine and they would stop playing.
Yeah.
Because they won. But the exact opposite happened. What they found is that they didn't get dopamine when they won the prize. They got dopamine when they had the anticipation of winning. It was the anticipation that brought them into that dopamine state. When they won the prize, the brain gave very little neural activity. There was some excitement, a little bit of adrenaline, but there was no dopamine at all, because the brain says, oh, you got your reward, this monetary incentive, so it doesn't release the dopamine. Okay. That's why people who will win a big jackpot and still sit there and play that same game and lose all of it, because they're not actually chasing money. Right. They're chasing dopamine because it makes them feel happy for just a microsecond. That's what they're chasing.
Well, okay, so I like the slot machines. Right? I love the ding, 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 and the rotating. And one of the things that we've done, because like you said, it was hard for me. I'd win and then be like, I'm going to keep going, because I was sure I was just going to keep winning. So what I'd started doing was, when I'd have those big jackpots, I'd take a picture, $500 or whatever, and I'd take a picture and I'd send it to you. Mm-hmm. So now you knew I won. You've celebrated with me, which for some reason was even more important than me winning the money. And so I knew that when I met you back up at the hotel room, or we met back up, that you'd be like, where's that $500? Mm-hmm. So I had to add now $500. But that seemed to fulfill that for me, just you celebrating with me, even more so, like I said, than the money.
Yeah, but even that is not positive. So I remember when I came back from it, it's not, because I remember when I came back from deployment and I first started getting on social media and I would post something and people would engage, and I would think, okay, people they like this stuff, they're engaged with me, but they really weren't. And you see, there's actually a really high suicide rate in people who are in social media, who are creating this artificial sense that people care about them and their content and what they're putting out. And it hyperinflates your sense of self-worth. Dopamine and serotonin are the two main chemicals that are happening in the brain. And it becomes this roller coaster of really high highs and really low lows.
Okay.
And people have to live in that middle place, because those really high highs don't last very long and the really low lows don't either. But when that's all you're living in is the high and the low, it makes the rest of life really unappealing. Okay. And it's a really big struggle, to overcome that and just be okay with the mundane every day-to-day life.
So explain this side of it to me then, because I get what you're saying, because I felt that, right? Where I've posted something and I'm kind of always going back to it, like, has people seen it? Have they liked it? And for each one of those likes and engagements, I'm like, woohoo, they like me. But then on the other side of that, when I see somebody else's posts and I engage with it, something happens. I feel like I'm part of it. I feel like I get to be part of that little thing that's happening. So that's just as rewarding. So is that more positive, or like, what is that?
But
It's happening.
not reality. It's only happening in a virtual space. So yes, you're part of something that's virtual. So one of the celebrities I like to follow, not because I really like any of her music or even movies she puts out, but I like her stance on mental health, is Selena Gomez.
Okay.
So Selena Gomez, super big celebrity. She's one of the most followed people on Instagram. And she chose to step away because she said it was ruining her life. It was completely destroying her mental health. She said it made her feel like she wasn't pretty enough, like she didn't really matter, that they were just engaging with not her, but with this image of her that was on social media. So you can see where it's destructive on both sides. For the people who are creating the content and the people who are consuming it, it becomes poison.
Right.
And this is somebody who has millions of adoring fans, and somehow she felt like she wasn't successful. And so it's no surprise that the rest of us feel that way as well.
Yeah, I've read, I don't know how true they are, maybe you've done more research, that, the creator of the iPhone and smartphones and stuff like that, they don't even let those things be in their house because of how damaging they are.
Yeah, Steve Jobs was famous for that.
Right.
Let his kids have any of those devices.
Which is interesting because that's, how he made millions.
So yeah, he created the platform, but he didn't create the social media, right? Like he created the device.
Right.
And he even said that could be damaging because then the kids, again, even if they're playing a video game, watching a movie, interacting on that device, then it can be damaging. So it used to be you had a computer like at school.
Yeah.
And you use it at school when I was growing up. And maybe you had a computer in the house, but it was one computer, like
With some AOL dial-up.
yeah, and it was offshoot of the kitchen, and everybody used it. And so you didn't get a lot of time on there because everybody else was utilizing it.
Right.
Or if somebody picked up the phone, then your signal went dead. Anyway, it was in its infancy, it wasn't a big deal. But now that it's super fast, super inexpensive, and everybody has this device in their pocket, they're always on it. And so the dopamine addiction through social media is so prevalent. You look on the subway, everybody's got their head down on their phone.
Oh yeah.
Same thing when you're at the airport. I travel a lot, and I can walk through the airport and I don't match a pair of eyes the entire time I'm walking to my gate because everybody is head down looking at their phone, or they're sitting down looking at their phone. And this is not an admonishment of anybody. This is just the reality of it. This is what's happening, and we all need to understand it and find ways that we can overcome that and get back to an actual social network instead of this social media.
Yeah. Well, remember where were we? Singapore, at Universal Studios in Singapore, and everybody was taking pictures, right? Remember this? Everybody was taking pictures. We even stayed in like a once in a lifetime hotel, the Marina Bay Sands.
Yeah.
And the pool was incredible, right? What were we, 50 floors up, something like that. And this infinity pool that were over the edge. And we watched people get completely glammed up, set their little tripod, go out into the pool, take a picture, and then leave.
Yeah.
And that's all they wanted to do.
Yeah.
Me, I'm like kicked back, with my coconut, and all they're doing is getting the Instagram shot. And same thing at Universal Studios. To the point where we actually ended up having some fun with it.
Yeah, I was trolling people. We were going to start a whole Instagram called The Bearded Bomber, but we thought that would get us put on a walk.
It totally would, totally. But they would set up their tripods.
Yeah, so this
is like the Roman Colosseum, right?
This is what we were doing. We watched this happen for so long. We decided to have sort of fun with it as people were setting up these Instagram moments on their phones.
Right. So they were looking like they were traveling. They were traveling the world here at Universal Studios, the Roman Colosseum and Italy and all these places, right? And so they would set up their tripod. And then the funniest part was they would act like somebody was taking the picture of them, but they were there by themselves. And so they had like the little clickers and they would like be like, oh no, right? What did surprise selfies, right? And so what you started doing, which was mortifying to me in the beginning, but then it was hilarious, is you started kind of creeping in the back of their shots. So you were like photobombing them. But the most amazing part was as soon as they realized that they were being photobombed by Aaron, they wanted a picture with him. They lit up. They were so excited that somebody was engaging with them. And they started taking pictures with you.
They absolutely loved it. I never got a negative feedback from anybody. Because they would go and check their phone to make sure they got the shot, and I'm in the shot. There's this kind of weird look, and they'd look around, they'd see me, and then they'd want me to come over. They'd want me to be in the shot. They want some interaction. And I just thought, wow, it was so sad because there's so many of these young people out there doing this. They're in this space where there's thousands of us walking around shoulder to shoulder, but yet they're all alone just with their phone, engaging just with their phone. So when they got engagement from a real person, it really did. It really changed.
It totally changed their mood. Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. And so one of the things I want to highlight though is taking breaks from social media.
Okay.
That's one of the things that's really, really important. So people say, oh yeah, I need to take a break from social media. You have to actually schedule it in, and you can set a timer in your phone. You can set alerts in your phone to be like, hey, I'm going to do a dopamine detox, meaning that you're not going to get into social media to get that dopamine hit, or movies, or any electronics, right? Just a specific amount of time. Could be 1-2 hours. I know some of you guys don't. No, can't be more than 1 or 2 minutes. No, it's got to be like at least an hour, maybe 2 hours, where you're going to be engaged in something else and not getting any other stimuli. Now, I'm not great at this because even when I'm out working, on the farm, the animals with the apples, I'm listening to a podcast.
Right.
And so I'm still actually engaging, which doesn't give my brain time to process its own thoughts, its own feelings, and its own emotions. So that quiet time is actually great because that's when your brain gets to think, gets to process information. Otherwise, you go all day taking in all this information. And then at night, when you want to go to sleep, your brain's like, but wait, we have all of this information that we need to process through before we go to sleep. And that's why people have trouble sleeping. And so what do? They get right back on their phone and they start scrolling.
Yeah.
And so for older adults, it's not as bad because we grew up in the analog era. So our brain learned those habits and we can go back to those healthy habits. But for teens who grew up in the digital era, that's all they know. So they've never been taught how to process through emotions. They just go straight to social media or some other app on their phone, their device. Now, research from the Pew Institute showed that 80% of teens on social media, it said it makes them feel like they're more connected to friends. But it's not actually true.
Yeah.
Because they're not really connected. It was something that I thought was really odd. A significant portion also say it makes them feel worse about their own life.
Yeah.
So you see these huge dichotomies. Like, oh, I feel more connected, but I also feel worse. And here's why, because you're looking through the keyhole of somebody else's life.
Yeah.
You're not seeing everything else that's going on. You're seeing that one specific moment in time. And then your brain is judging your own life, saying, I don't live in that moment in time. I'm left out of that. Yeah, I get to see what my other friends are doing, but I don't get to be a part of it. And that's where the depression and the anxiety comes in, the negative self-talk, because you're not actually in that moment.
Yeah.
You're not having the moment yourself. You're just witnessing this. And so it used to be, we did this with TV. We did this with movies. But it was not socially acceptable for you to just be in your house and sit on your couch and watch TV for 12 hours a day. But it's socially acceptable to have your phone in your hand all the time, to be out to dinner, to be on a bus, to be driving your car. I see people driving their car. It becomes socially acceptable to be able to do that. And this is something that has become a problem because this is no longer taboo.
Right.
It's just normal. And so we've got to figure out, how do we overcome this? What are some steps we can put in place to help us detox from dopamine? So we already talked about taking a break.
Yeah.
You can take a break from social media, schedule it in your day. But here's some other tips about how you can build mental resilience and overcome this addiction to your phone.
Okay.
Number one, okay, so I got to preface this. These aren't really tips,
Okay.
right? This is more of a battle plan. I'm a Marine. I can't help it.
Of course.
I created kind of a battle plan. So preface this, not really tips, more of a battle plan. Number one thing you can do is just schedule your scrolling time. And so what does that mean? That means that you're not going to just mindlessly scroll. You're going to set up a time when you're going to allow yourself to do that.
Okay.
And here's a way to do it. You can have app timers and different things to do that. But if you accomplish an actual physical goal and then reward yourself with 15 minutes of dopamine. So if you've got to clean the house, you say, okay, I'm going to clean the house. I'm going to start with the kitchen.
Okay.
All I'm going to do is put all the dishes away in the dishwasher and refill it.
Mhm.
So that's probably going to take you 15, 20 minutes. And you say, great, I got that done 15, 20 minutes. So now I'm going to spend 5 minutes scrolling on my phone or 10 minutes scrolling on my phone.
Okay. So just schedule it in.
And when that, you can set this up for yourself. When that's done, when the timer goes off, scrolling is done, then you move on to the next thing. So the kitchen has been cleaned. It took you half an hour. Now you move on to the next task. Maybe it's the living room. Maybe it's the bathrooms.
Okay.
And you accomplish a goal, and then you can give yourself a reward, which is scrolling.
Right.
So that's one thing you can do. Number one, you can also curate your feed on what you want to actually follow. Now, there are some things that you follow that you engage with, but it's super negative. Politics is one of the ones for me, right? So I try to avoid news and politics on my feed. So I unfollowed all these news organizations I was part of.
Okay. Well,
So
good job.
I don't follow the news organizations anymore. I don't really need to, because when I see my mom, she just gives me, the highlights of the news for the day.
Hey, it's news by Cindy. She's the reporter.
But I unfollowed and muted those accounts, or even people. There's even people in my life that I know in real life that are actually decent, but on social media, they act like total jerks. And so I don't want to engage with that content. So people ask me like, hey, did you see what this person said? Nope. Because well, you're friends with them. Yeah, but I don't follow them. Unfollow. I don't follow. I mute. And so my social media feed is built with business acronyms in mind.
Sure.
Mental health in mind. So when I look at my feed, those are the things that I'm seeing. So I specifically went in, unfollowed things that I knew weren't healthy, stopped listening to people who were gossiping, and I definitely don't follow any celebrities.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that I don't understand. Why do people think that some celebrity who's paid to lie as an actor all day, like that's what they get paid to do, paid to play a character. They're not themselves. They're a character.
Sure.
And somehow this person, their opinion is more valuable than the person that lives next door to you that you've known for the last decade. And it's just a weird thing. So I don't follow any of those, Kardashians would be.
Sure. Well, I think it goes back to what you were talking about. People want to be part of something, right? And so now if I'm part of the Kardashians and how Kris Jenner suddenly looks 30 years younger, then, then I add value to myself. I'm part of this, right? This perceived relationship.
It's that false expectation that you're part of something, but you're really not. You're just part of this social media machine.
Right.
But there's no real exchange of information.
That makes sense.
So the third thing is you can do a daily emotional audit.
Explain that to me. What do you mean a daily emotional audit?
So when you think of audit, you think of like taxes, right? Right. They look through your accounts payable, receivable, right? And see what does all that look like? Well, an emotional audit is really the same thing.
Okay.
So every time you close an app, just ask yourself, did that make me feel empowered or did it make me feel worse? And that's a really hard question.
Yeah.
So when you're done with whatever app that is, whatever you're working on, whatever you're doing in that technology, ask yourself, did that make my life better or worse? How do I feel about that interaction?
Yeah.
And if you start asking yourself those questions, then you're going to start deleting a lot of those apps and moving to a different direction. Now, why this works is because it builds self-awareness. It cuts off harmful habits, right at the source, which is that technology that's in your hand. So a study from the University of Pennsylvania found that limiting social media to 30 minutes a day significantly reduced loneliness and depression, largely because people became aware of how they were feeling.
Wow.
Because when you're on that social media, you may be having those feelings and those chemicals are being released in your brain, but you don't self-actualize. You don't recognize it because you just scroll to the next one, get the next dopamine hit. But you feel bad because you see all your friends out at a party and you weren't invited. And so you scroll to the next one and scroll to the next one and scroll to the next one. But you're not taking personal inventory of the emotions that are happening in your brain. This is a huge problem that we see. And so when you limit your social media activity, it gives your brain, like I said, time to process.
Yeah.
Which is what I talked about earlier, is giving your brain time to process through the information that you have. And this will start happening naturally. It feels uncomfortable at first because you're just used to getting those dopamine hits. But the more you practice this, the better you'll get at it. And you'll be able to start doing this on a more regular basis. Now, here's the hard one.
Other ones haven't been hard.
No. Those will be easy. If you really want to kickstart any one of these,
Okay.
start with a 24-hour
A full day?
social media detox. Yeah.
Like all social media?
All social media for 24 hours. It's a detox challenge.
Why?
So most people, you can't even keep it on your phone. So you're going to have to just delete your phone. So you have the app on your phone. Just do it for 24 hours. Delete the apps on your phone. And use that time for something tactile. Walking, journaling, and reading a book, spending time with friends, building something. I got a good friend who does quilting.
Yeah.
Social media was really just causing a lot of stress and anxiety.
Yeah.
So he just quit it. He just got off of it. And he spends that time doing something tactile. This dude makes quilts.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, this is a tough dude. This dude's got more tattoos
Oh, yeah.
than anybody I've ever met in my life. This guy has a very high intense hero type job.
Yeah.
He's a Marine. And now he's got this job where he's actively saved his life.
Literally. Yeah.
So this is a tough dude. I mean, covered in tabs. As soon as you retire, Sam, this guy's going to get big fat neck tattoos. You know, he's going to get the Mike Tyson
A
tat.
couple hand tattoos.
He's so covered in the, but the point of that is he recognized it was causing trouble. So he didn't just do the 24-hour, he banned it permanently in his life. And I'm not saying you have to do that.
Right.
I'm saying try 24 hours, dopamine detox, and see how you feel. Now, why this works is because it breaks the dopamine loop, giving your brain a chance to reset itself. Now, for the older generation, this is going to be a lot easier because, like I said, we grew up in the analog era. But for the youth, it's going to be painful.
Yeah.
You're going to be like, okay, well, I'll just tune out and watch TV, or I'll just tune out and play video games. But you've got to detox from all of that. Now, in workshops, we've seen people come back from a 24-hour detox saying they felt more productive, less anxious, and more connected to the people around them.
I can see that. Yeah.
And so it becomes this kind of breath of fresh air when people go through this dopamine detox and they're able to do that. Now, you also have to, and this is an easy one. Once you've done those things,
Okay.
right, especially the 24-hour detox, it helps you reframe your engagement with social media.
Sure.
And so for me, instead of scrolling passively, I use social media as a tool. And I post intentionally and engage with purpose when I leave. So I look at social media now more as a job than as a mindless activity, because I look and say, what kind of engaging content is trending right now? And how can I take my content and build it out that way? And when I go and I engage with somebody's post, it's to add meaningful conversation and contribution to what they're saying. I'm part of the blocks. I'm one of the coaches there.
Yeah.
And when I do is I'll go on every day into a private group that we have, and I'll scroll through and I'll find 2 or 3 people that I can add value to. I'll get on, I'll add value, and then I'm off.
Yeah.
I don't spend a lot of time going through all that stuff. I just see where I can add value, and then I'm out. Now, this turns you from a consumer into a creator.
Yeah.
Shifting your mindset from reactive to proactive because you know exactly what you're not just going to go there and scroll, but you know exactly what you're doing. You have a mission. You're going to go add value to 3 or 4 people.
Yeah.
And that's your goal. Once you've hit your goal, then you get out. Now, I use social media for this. I give updates on where I'm at. I put a lot of engaging content on mental health and resiliency, but I don't create rabbit holes that people can go down. Many more comparisons or uh, things for people to spiral. So I don't post things like, "Hey, look at me. You should be here, part of this."
Yeah. Okay. So nothing inflammatory.
I don't rely on anything inflammatory, but I also don't post me out just having fun. It'll be me going and doing something. When I hike in Vietnam,
Sure.
I hiked through that. I used all that content. I put that really cool, engaging content of hiking through the largest cave system in the world, but I put a mental health lesson into it.
Gotcha.
So now they're getting something of value instead of junk
Yeah.
when they're consuming this content. So they're learning something of value. And I used to do seminars and I used to give speeches and I used to build out, you know, these big, long pieces of content trying to educate people on mental health. And I wasn't getting anywhere. It was getting no traction. And I couldn't understand why. I went and did a speech contest
Okay.
and I lost.
Really?
And I couldn't believe it. When I lost, I had to sit back and think like, how did I lose? I literally taught people how to help somebody who's in a mental health crisis. What I'm teaching saves lives and builds mental resiliency. And I literally lost to a guy who was retelling the story of the Sandlot as if it was his own personal story. Like, anybody remember the Sandlot? Like, you guys remember that movie, The Sandlot?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the guy giving this speech was basically retelling that story, but like it was his life growing up. Like, even had the baseball kids, it had the mean dog, it had the cranky neighbor, like everything. And I just looked around and thought to myself, nobody sees this. Nobody sees that this guy just ripped off the story of the Sandlot and is retelling it as his own story. And this guy won. He beat me and I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
And that's when I recognized people don't want to be educated. They want to be entertained. So if I want to compete in the social media space, I have to entertain. So I shifted my focus on how I deploy these things,
Okay.
where my team and I now are building out engaging content that has a little bit of knowledge in it. But more it's that entertainment value, and they get a little bit of knowledge. Entertainment value, a little bit of knowledge. So I may only speak on one little point, one little thing to give them that nugget. And the rest is just entertainment because that's what people want. That's what feeds their brain. That's what drives engagement. So I know how to play this game and I can play it, but I can do it in a positive way.
Sure.
So instead of creating engaging content and using this dopamine hack that's negative, I'm going to use that dopamine hack to actually give them something of value.
That's so good.
And so that has helped me redesign how we're doing all of our social media, even the mental health janitors right now.
Yeah.
We're completely redesigning how we do it. It used to be too heavy on teaching.
Okay.
And so now we're going to try and transition it to be more entertaining with a little bit of nugget inside.
Okay. Good. I think that's going to be very impactful.
So when it comes to your goals with social media, how do you use it?
Well, I'm in the social media space, right? And so there's two different sides to me. There's my professional side, which I'm constantly, like you were saying, looking at content, creating content for other people. Like if you look at my social media page, I don't think that I've actually posted anything in months about me or mine. So there's that side. But then on the other side of that, there is, I look at my friends, and for some reason in my head, I'm watching pregnancy announcements, travel announcements, all their life. And it satisfies that in me of not catching up with them, not calling, not texting, hey, how you doing? Like Doc Jess, right? Just had surgery on her neck and she's laid up. And I was getting my updates from social media instead of calling my friend and being like, how are you? because I was like, oh, she's fine, or she's feeling better, or she's struggling with pain. Because I felt like I already knew, and that made me part of that loop, right? But from her side of things, which she probably didn't even notice, but from her side of things, I hadn't called and checked in. Even though I'm stalking her on Facebook, she could have felt like I didn't care because I didn't bother to check in. So I see the good and the bad, right? Like I see my job and I see being able to spread your message and help businesses and help people with their mental health. But then I see that it's kind of crippling my interpersonal relationships with people because I'm not reaching out and I'm not engaging them on that personal, face-to-face level. I am just looking at social media and taking that and how I'm building my relationship with them. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense to people or that they can relate, because I hope I'm not the only one, right?
But again, that's that looking through that keel.
Yeah.
And so right now she's laid up. She can't go see anybody. So her only avenue to connect is through social media.
Yeah.
And if she doesn't get those likes, get those comments, then it can be destructive to her mental health. But the other thing is nobody's calling her
Yeah.
and checking on her because they feel like they already know what's going on through social media.
Right.
So that's something that can be a huge problem. I see that for sure. That could be a huge problem for people. Again, that's Selena Gomez. She has all these adoring fans, but there's nobody in real life that's actually caring about her as a person. They care about her as a celebrity status, but not her as a person. Because she's so much more than just the content she creates, the movies, the music. Those are all things that she does. That's not who she is. And that's part of the problem with social media is it shows people what you do, not who you are. And so people start to fall in love with this idea of who they think this person is, but they've never actually taken the time to get to know them as a person. So this becomes a really big problem.
Yeah, I can see that. Another thing that I'm noticing is, and you do it to me all the time, and I adore you, I love you, but I'll send you this big long message and you'll just give me a thumbs up. It makes me want to fight every single time. And so even with my social media stuff that I'm putting out for you, and I'm watching other creators have the same issues now, where a like's not good enough. It's not enough. It's no longer filling enough of that dopamine hit. We want to see a comment. We want to see you engage. We want to see you actually participate, right? But I think that that's because we're starved for that engagement and participation in real life. So we want to hear you say something. A like and a thumbs up or a heart or whatever isn't cutting it anymore. So it's kind of terrifying to me of, well, what's the progression going to end up being?
Well, what people don't realize is there's a whole other side to social media for creators.
Sure.
And Facebook, that's how they monetize. A like isn't enough for them. You have to have so many comments, so many engagements, so many impressions every single week, or they will demonetize your platform.
Yeah.
And you won't make money. And so a lot of people want to become creators to make money. And those who aren't in the creator space, you think, oh, this would be so easy, it'd be such a great job, just, share what I'm doing. But there's actually a method to it because they created a specific algorithm that if you don't fit into that algorithm, then you don't get monetized. You don't get shown on other platforms. Your stuff doesn't get reshared. They don't pay you money for clicks, advertisement, all that stuff that you need to make money on social media. If you're not doing it the way they want you to, getting all those engagement comments, all those things, then you don't make any money.
But those people that you're talking about are people who do what you do.
Right.
They come at social media with a strategy.
Right.
They ain't there to just scrolling at their dopamine.
Right.
These are people who are educated in how it works and know what they need to do to get what they want. I'm talking about like the average Joe. That's like, man, yeah, I got 27 likes, but nobody actually is engaging. So I think that we're going to see a shift. I think that we're going to start seeing people that escalation of this is no longer enough, which is human nature, right? What used to make us happy no longer makes us happy. So what is that happening in our brain?
So yeah, you can get conditioned to a certain thing. Okay. So here's the thing. If you absolutely love pepperoni pizza, but you only buy it once a month, it's like a treat. Now, here's a better example.
Okay.
The McRib. McRib is a nasty little chopped up piece of pork with a pickle on it. It's actually pretty disgusting when you think about it.
Well, that's why we don't think about it.
Well, it only comes out once a year for a couple weeks in November. So McDonald's creates this false demand for us because if it was on their menu all year, it wouldn't have enough sales. They would discontinue the product. But since they only do it for a couple weeks in November, they make a ton of money on not just the McRib, but getting more people into McDonald's to buy the McRib and all these other products because it's only there for a limited time. So these are just marketing tactics. One of the things that Facebook or Meta does, the business side, Meta, is that they continually change the algorithm. So just when you figured it out, you've got it dialed in, they're going to change it to something else. This is why you get updates on your Facebook app or your Instagram app, because they've created a new feature. They've changed the way it looks. They made the button. And all of this is to keep you engaging, because if it became normal, if it became regular, if it became routine, you would stop using it. So just go on your phone right now and look at all the apps that you have downloaded. And then you can look and see the last time you opened that thing. And you're going to see all these apps that you're like, oh, I downloaded that. I haven't used that in 6 months.
Right.
And so those are apps that didn't understand how to keep people engaged. You used it, it became routine, and then you lost interest. And they didn't do anything to keep it new and fresh and engaging. And that's part of the problem. That's why Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, they use other content creators, other people to put information on their app to keep it new, fresh, innovative. But even they change things up.
Yeah. That's why it's kind of a catch-22, right? Like, you put out an educational platform, and if you don't gamify it, people aren't going to stay engaged. Your adoption rate is going to drop off. Or people use it while they need it, which you have experience in. People use it because they're in a crisis or they need it. But then once they're better or healthy, they don't use it anymore. And that cycle continues.
And the cycle continues, yeah. Because if they use it on a daily basis, they wouldn't have those low lows and high highs.
Right.
I built an app, won a bunch of awards, literally saving lives. But that's the problem. People use it when they're in crisis, and then they stop using it. And then months later, they go right back into crisis. But if they just continue to use it, they would never have those those really low lows or those super manic high highs, because they could track that data. But that's part of the problem that we run into.
Yeah.
So here's the thing you guys can do tonight. Look at your phone. Pick one social. You can do a 24-hour detox. And those of you who do, send me a message. Let me know how it went. But I know the majority of you won't do that. So let's just pick one social media app to disconnect from for 24 hours. Just delete one for 24 hours. Not all of them, just one, and see how that works. Or give yourself 2-hour blocks twice a day where you're going to not be on social media. And so some of you can't have your phone at work, so I'm not talking about that.
Right.
I'm talking about during your normal time, in the morning when you're getting ready, or in the evening. Pick a couple hours on either side of that to just turn it off and completely detox and see how you're going to feel. Let us know in the comments. Let us know what that was like. That's my challenge to you. Pick one of those two lanes and see what happens. Now, remember, you cannot, parents, you're probably going to be the worst at this. You can't pour from an empty cup. So a lot of times you guys are going to say things to your kids like, you need to get off your phone. You need to get off your video games. You need to stop doing whatever this social media behavior is. But you're just as bad, if not worse, when it comes to your own. Mm-hmm. So if you want your kids to change their behavior, you have to set the example and you have to go first. And here's your opportunity. I gave you 4 things you could do earlier to try and help you kick this dopamine habit.
Yeah.
Number 1 was schedule your scrolling time. Number 2 was create a clean feed where you don't have negative stuff to interact with. Number 3 was to do a daily emotional audit. And number 4 was to reframe your engagement with social media, how you're using it, and use it intentionally. And then, of course, the detoxes, because the detoxes are going to be the most helpful, but they're going to be the most difficult for you to be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, as you can tell, we are redesigning our studio here. We have a new studio. It's a white wall right now. It's going to change over time. We're going to be building this and we're giving you guys a behind the scenes. Now, we thought about this. We thought about building the whole studio, shooting a bunch of episodes, and you're just re-releasing it. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to build the studio with you guys watching it. So every week you'll see new content, you'll see new things that are happening, new layouts. We're going to start bringing on more guests. You're going to see all of these things happen, and you're going to get a front row seat to these changes that are happening. So it won't be such a huge shift. There'll be small little shifts throughout the next 6 months as we redesign the mental health janitors. So here's something for you guys to think about is how do you redesign your life? As we redesign our studio for engagement, we're going to ask you to redesign your life. And how you do that is to take control of your mental health journey. But it doesn't stop there. You have to then go out and help other people do the same thing. We're all about taking action here. We've all taken control of our mental health journey, and now we want you to do the same thing and spread that into your sphere of influence. One of the ways you guys can do that is joining our free workplace wellness group, where you're going to get actionable tips you can use every single day to build your mental resilience. And there's a little leadership moment in there. So if you want to take this and start transferring this knowledge to others, we teach you exactly how to do that. It's totally free. You can find it on Facebook. One rule, if you join, you have to engage. If not, you get the boot, because you can't be a lurker in this group. You have to actually engage.
It's also where you're going to come to hear about upcoming challenges, behind the scenes stories, and get the chance to help shape our future episodes. We want you in there because this isn't just a podcast, it's a community.
This is a place where we're actually going to go deeper and unpack these things and give you really awesome, actionable things. Now, this isn't for everybody. Some of you guys just want to be a lurker and just listen. Great. Continue to listen on the podcast. But some of you really want to take control of your mental health. You're tired of living the way you're living. You're tired of repeating the cycles, going down the same road and getting the same results. And you want something to change. And that something is you. And we can show you exactly how to do it in workplace wellness. So next week, one of the topics that we're going to talk about is something close to home for a lot of you. It's mental resilience at work. This is where a lot of our stress comes from. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about toxic culture in the workplace and how you can not just avoid it, but change it in your workplace. It's exactly why we built out workplace wellness. 90% of us work somewhere. Some of us are stay-at-home parents. Some of us are retired, but the majority of people are working somewhere. And you have very little control over how that company is run. But what you do have control over is how you behave and how you interact with others. We're going to show you how to build a positive mental health workplace for yourself, no matter where you work.
Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Until then, take care of your mind like it's mission critical, because it is.
All right. Well, there's 3 things that we always want to do. We want to educate, empower, and encourage you on your mental health journey. Stay sharp, stay focused, stay grounded. And remember, you're the janitor of your own mind.
Make sure to like, comment, and follow.
For the Mental Health Janitors, I'm Sgt Q.
And I'm Ollie.
And we're out.